Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I know a lot of listeners are from different regions, so uh, some of you just woke up, and now it is our evening. So I think everyone's feeling quite upbeat recently, thanks to the bullish market. Positivity is in the air, and the market is bringing with opportunities. Let's talk about all the stats which started gaining attention a year ago, and when they were barely discussed. The the bull market is kicking off, presenting a lot of opportunities, and the Polkadot 2.0 is definitely one of them. With Coretime set to launch on Kusama in Q1 and soon on Polkadot, we are entering an exciting new chapter. Polkadot is transitioning from chain centric to app centric, opening up numerous opportunities. Today, we have projects and leaders. We have new projects and leaders from the Polkadot ecosystem with us. We hope to uncover some interesting insights together. Also, we are delighted to have a CIK co-hosting with us today. Hi, 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 Justin.
Hey, Kristen, how's it going?
Hi.
Super excited to be here and be involved in another conversation. We know some of the panelists here and have been working with them at SICK, but excited to hear from all of them and we know what they have to say, their opinions. Again, I think these are the great type of conversations that need to be had, especially within X Spaces realm. So thank you for putting this together and thanks for all the panelists for showing up.
Okay, thank you, Justin. It's great to have you here and co-hosting with you and co-hosting with us. And to kick things off, we have four distinguished guests who will share their insights. Let's begin with a brief introduction from each of our panelists, so our audience can get to know them and their project better. Let's start with Phil, the co-founder of Elastic. Please tell us a bit about yourself and your work.
Hello, my name is Phil. I'm a co-founder of Elastic, which aims to be a block space marketplace built on Polkadot 2.0's Coretime model. Yeah, I have a background dating back to 2013 in the Bitcoin space, worked in the Ethereum space as well for a while, and worked with Parity Technologies in the past as well. So very excited to join this space and talk about the future of Polkadot.
Yeah, thank you for the insightful introduction. Next, we have Luca from the co-founder of Polemic. We are eager to hear about your journey and the current project.
Hey everyone, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Luca, co-founder of Polymec. What we're doing is we're enabling fundraising on chain. So we're connecting investors with startup projects and basically focusing on the business adoption side on the road from an early stage startup until it goes to the secondary market. So very excited to talk about Polkadot 2.0 and how it enables already the lowering of entry barriers for startups on the tech front and what we can enable also with the Polymec protocol to support it on the fundraising side.
Okay, thank you. That was truly fascinating. Fascinating. Moving on, let's hear from Tommy, Polkadot Web3 market research uh, at uh, at Polkalistics and a growth officer and Manhattan Financial, and also founded Chaos DAOs. So, could you share with us your story, Tommy?
Hey, thank you very much for having me today. Yeah, I discovered Polkadot 2.5 years ago and was very excited to see it happening. I think it's very, very true to the core of Web3 and this idea of using blockchain to have an impact in the real world and bring actual change to the world, and how every one of us is able to take ownership of the web and everything we do. So very excited to be with you today.
Appreciate your thoughts. Now let's turn to our final panelist, Yuki. We are excited to learn more about your work.
Hi, thanks Christine for inviting Moonbeam again. This is Yuki Pan from Moonbeam. I'm working for Moonbeam community building and business development, especially in the Asian markets. So I just suppose most of the audience here might heard about Moonbeam before, but let me just briefly introduce again. So for Moonbeam, yeah, this is cool. Like Moonbeam is a decentralized part of Polkadot. So that's kind of like a bridge connector to Ethereum. So what's awesome, you can imagine Moonbeam just like easily bring your excited stuff from Ethereum or for other ecosystem or public chains, layer ones or layer two, their smart contracts and apps to Moonbeam. So we're all about like we can try to halve them so that for allowing developers to explore DeFi, NFTs, and tons of like other cool decentralized apps. Even we can imagine like inscription marketplace in the future might be. So these are all like can be easily deployed on Moonbeam. And regarding Moonbeam as the first destination, if they also interested in exploring and deeply into the Polkadot ecosystem. So that's why like here currently on Moonbeam, we have more than 300 projects actively to the ecosystem. And next year, we also will be like more aggressively exploring more and more like user-friendly and massive adoption application for the whole Polkadot ecosystem. So very excited to join the Twitter space and hoping to. I'm also like interested in learning more about the Coretime upgrades and the future developments. Thanks.
Thank you and welcome all. First, let's delve into the latest development in Coretime. How is the testing progressing on Rococo, and when we can anticipate its launch on Kusama and Polkadot, considering Elastic's involvement in the Coretime market and keen interest in this domain. We would greatly appreciate it if a few could share some insights with us.
Yeah, thanks. Uh, as we know, core time was announced in the summer at Polkadot Decoded, and things have been moving really fast from the fellowship development team. It's the core developers of the Polkadot network. So far, they have completed the instantaneous core time, which is on demand or parathreads, you may have heard, but it's basically a way of paying as you go without dealing with a full month or year-long leases or whatever. That's already live on the Rococo testnet. Coming up very shortly, within the next few days even, will be the bulk core time, which is essentially the replacement for parachain auctions. And that's coming on very soon on the Rococo testnet, meaning that once that's stable, this basic version is stable on the testnet, it will be deployed on Kusama shortly after, and we will say goodbye to parachain auctions for good. Maybe Allison Bob has some more details. He was on the development call for the fellowship yesterday. Maybe he has some further developments on that, but it's something that we are and closely watching as well at Elastic to make sure that our secondary marketplace can launch in due time.
Yeah, and Tommy, would you like? Do you have something to add?
Yeah, so if your question in general is what's currently on the roadmap, I tried to get all the answers yesterday from the technical fellowship call, so the people developing Polkadot Core. Mm-hmm. So what we will see at the moment is that we are anticipating the launch of the Polkadot Kusama bridge sometime in January, and maybe even the Kusama Ethereum bridge, possibly also in January or maybe a little bit later. So I think these are the hottest news. Then what is also currently landing is that there is salaries coming for the fellowship, which is also a testing ground for potential future collectives. So collectives are these on-chain entities of a group of people that are having a certain job or agenda in something that they're working on, and they get a budget from governance or a salary. And so this is now fully built for the fellowship, and it opens up the gateway to have other kinds of departments, so to say, in Polkadot governance that could be, for example, you could have a marketing collective or a data collective or an infrastructure collective. So this is essentially feature complete now and is also landing in this next update of Polkadot 1.0. And yeah, the last thing maybe to mention is that async backing is also launching, which enables parachains to have 6-second block times now instead of 12 seconds if they choose. And this is also the first step on the road to elastic scaling to have completely flexible block times. And so all of the stuff that I mentioned just now is the very short-term stuff that we should be seeing in the next 2 months or so.
Wow, that is exciting. And thank you for that comprehensive response. Now, moving on to our next topic. With Coretime's upcoming launch, new projects like Elastic are emerging to address Coretime purchases. Let's invite Phil to explain how to buy Coretime, the pricing, and also discuss the opportunities and the challenges in the core-time trading market. Could you share your perspective on this view?
Yeah, no problem. So at first, what we're going to see is the continuation of the leases of people who bought parachain auctions in the past. So if teams that bought these parachain leases for 2 years, they will continue to run out as they should. But at the same time, once we see the launch of Coretime happening, we will see a few, like 3 to 5 cores or slots being sold per month. So there's two major parts about core time coming up that people should understand is one is like the procurement or how you get it, and then what you can do with it. Because in the past you've done parachain auctions, and what you could do with those parachain auctions is use it for parachains. I think it's important to talk about the differences first and how you can get it. And basically, instead of one slot or core being sold at a time, there's going to be multiple cores sold per month, and they will only be purchasable for 1 month long periods. So that's a way for parachains right now to kind of buy these month-long purchases and have some sort of guarantees that if they don't split that up, that they could renew it for longer. So it's not only a month at a time, they're guaranteed that they can get a renewal and keep their slot going for much longer than even 2 years, which is what they get right now. So how they're going to get that is by buying these cores going on sale. And right now, that's what we're working on at Elastic is to create an easy interface for builders and users and traders to buy cores to be able to use in different ways. Now, there's going to be other ways you can get access to cores, such as this on-demand parachains, but basically the big sales are going to be done on these big parachain in style auctions or sales called core time sales. Now, the cool thing about core time that's different from parachain auctions is that there is no major auction where everyone's fighting for one. There's going to be multiple cores per sale, as well as the fact that if I buy a core, I can sell it to somebody else. And this is where Elastic comes in and creates a secondary marketplace. It's something that I've already tested before on the current parachain model by winning a Kusama auction. And without the intention of using the parachain slot, with only the intention of selling it. And we made a trade of a sort of proof of concept core time trade with the Astar network for their Shida network on Kusama, which was done really successfully, albeit very, very complicated. So it was not user friendly to use Polkadot.js to set up the code and reserve the para ID and all these technical things we don't want traders to deal with. So that was a good learning experience and something that Elastic is building to be much, much more user friendly. so that not only builders can get involved, but traders as well, and brokers and sort of landlords as well. Something we want to create a more tradable liquid market for these cores that provide high quality, secure block space for any team or application, not just parachains. That's the main part of the difference of what's happening with Coretime sales right now. And as you also talked about pricing, and pricing is something I'm working with the community on. There's a forum post and on the Polkadot forum. I highly recommend people get involved. But what we're aiming to do is, what I want to see happen is set the price initially very low, because the price can adjust month over month. And I think it would be better to adjust upwards rather than slowly downwards. So we're going to, I don't know exactly what the price will be yet. It's all a community discussion, and in the end will be voted on with OpenGov on Polkadot and Kusama. But we're aiming to set the prices initially very low so that the cores are all sold. Because once they're sold, they can be resold and allocated efficiently that way as well. But we're like, some target that I'm suggesting is $1,000 per core per month. So that would be something that I'm suggesting as a community member, but we'll see what the community decides in the end.
Okay, and thank you for those valuable insights. Now, I'd love to delve deeper into the opportunities and the challenges in the Coretime trading market. I'll invite our other estimated guests to share their perspective. Yuki, let's start with you. What opportunities and challenges do you see in this Coretime trading market?
Yeah, thanks, Christine. Actually, like after learn a little about that last week, I'm super excited for the future of core time because it seems I'm so just like noted, like I'm a non-tech background person, so for all of my like thinking and opinions may just come from the communities, like the demands and feedback. So first of all, when I firstly heard about core time, I would say yes, it might be a good opportunity to increase the usage scenarios for dot token or even like more native token within the Polkadot ecosystem. So that's like the next question, like how we want to pay like for the core time to pay for our block space. That might be an interesting question. And secondly, like what I'm interested in more is like, because for core time, it's the mechanism for it's not like an auction. People and our holders need to stake a lot of dots in order to support a chain to be launched as as an active parachain. So it's very flexible, depend on the real usage, like by the chain. So on behalf of that, I'm thinking like maybe any arbitrage opportunity for the coming up from the marketplace might be happens, which will like booming the activities for the whole Polkadot ecosystem. So these are like all the positive feedback like I can imagine for the core time when it launched. But on the other side, like what I've seen is maybe just for Moonbeam, because we already secured our next 2 years auction slots. So that's why maybe in the short term, core time for us is still a little far from us. But how we can engage our ecosystem projects to participate like the core time opportunity, maybe to create more opportunity to get involved like more individual users to enjoy like the core time the core time benefits. So that's like just my own thoughts and questions. Hopefully, like maybe Leslie team have any thoughts like we can discuss.
Yeah, interesting points. And thank you, Yuki. And now I'd love to hear from Luca. What are your thoughts on the same topic?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think Phil had a very interesting point because I think the hardest part to start with the pricing is where do you set the initial price? And I like to have a certain relationship with the price target that was put on a monthly basis in relation to bare metal servers, and just to start somewhere with the pricing that we don't create the highest volatility initially on a downwards slope. Nevertheless, where the market is going on trading Coretime, I think is a very, very big guess, or at least from my side, thinking it through. And talking about arbitrage opportunities or broker facilitating these deals, I think we should always focus on the majority of the users. And the biggest goal of it is to sell them out, to distribute the cores, to get them to the working applications. So on the opportunities front, I think one of the very interesting things, and to sell some discussions with it, is how can we have a forward-looking pricing model? Because one of the biggest advantages of the parachain auctions was the 2-year duration. And the downsides, as we're all aware, was the highly volatile structure of the auctioning part being an entry barrier for new startups to come. So with that, on a business perspective, talking to new developers at the moment or new upcoming projects, they're all talking about the same thing. They're all extremely excited about the lower entry barriers to start a new project from an infrastructure or tech cost side. And with the market, I would be very interested if there are already thoughts or ideas how it could be priced more forward-looking to either structure a forward rate or structure a forward agreement to get larger enterprises where they're finally going to a model paying an annual fee, basically, where a broker facilitates the trading for them in the background. I don't know how advanced the planning is already on that front.
Yeah, it's something I can talk about just quickly. Something we're obviously looking into, and it is part of the demand we've been seeing from builders as well. The As you said, one of the main advantages of the parachain auctions was this ability to have a 2-year lease, which lets the builders focus on their products and their apps. Um, Having to buy or renew even your core every month is a bit of a hassle compared to the 2-year lease. So there's a few ways that like the secondary market, Elastic, could support this. We're definitely investigating like what are the most high demand or and what are the most feasible for the short term without building out a huge amount of infrastructure uh, that does that. But obviously, there is huge potential with, automatic renewals, although that doesn't, make the price very predictable. However, yeah, long-term brokerage agreements is something we're looking heavily into the ability for brokers to promise and set a futures price and some sort of options that allows teams to kind of build long-term agreements with brokers who are able to secure cores longer down the road is something that is of huge demand and something we need to encourage a brokerage market for in order to allow to happen so that we can have more long-term stability for builders, as well as more stable prices over time.
Yeah, and thank you. And now let's hear from Tommy. Could you please share your sights on the opportunities and the challenges in the Coretime trading market?
Yeah, I would say most relevant points are already mentioned. It's also a question of long-term perspective. So one thing is having a market, the other side is having the actual demand for that. And Polkadot is very good on the supply side. So you still see optimizations coming in to be supplying more cores. So there is a lot of expectation of what is possible in the future. And so it's more a question of scaling up to that point. So also getting improvements done on the development side so that the developers have an easier time tapping into multiple cores. And also having projects that tap into multiple cores at the same time. So 2 projects that you can see here is the Hyperbridge from Polkadot Labs. This looks like a very interesting bridge project where each core is utilized to check, signatures. So basically, these cores are used to to make sure that the bridges are properly communicating. This is a very interesting project. And the other project that is a little bit less public yet is from Polkadot co-founder Rob Habermeyer, who is building a data availability layer. So this is essentially one component that blockchains need. It's like the random access memory that your computer has, the short-term storage. And so data availability is also an important component of blockchains that now gets segmented out. And there are a few data availability projects. And so what Rob Habermeyer is building is here a data availability layer that is built on Polkadot itself. And this could be a very interesting project utilizing multiple cores. So these could be the first actors that actually could be creating demand on scale for multiple cores. And yeah, it's up to the creativity of developers in how they want to use that abundant block space, compute storage that is now becoming available, that is highly secured by Polkadot. And I think this will determine demand long term.
Yeah, and thank you. I see that Philip is here, right? And Philip, would you like to share your slides on this topic? You could send the invitation to be a speaker if you like to share your opinion. Philip, oh, I will invite you to.
Awesome. In the meantime, while we're getting him up on stage, I just want to remind everyone, if you could hit the blue bubble in the bottom right corner of your phone and then like and retweet out this space. Also, be sure to tag some friends. This is definitely a great conversation we're having today, and it's definitely something that more people need to hear. So we appreciate all your support with the space, and we'll pass the mic over to Filippo if you have a mic okay there.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, thanks for inviting me as a speaker. Thanks a lot. But yeah, I mean, I was listening. I didn't join the space at the beginning, but what I heard is like everything has been done, has been said. I think it's very interesting to me the fact that Coretime will have this decaying time, like a kind of a radioactive atom in chemistry or this kind of stuff. It's quite of interesting, this aspect that makes we might make the market highly dynamic, because of course if I buy some Coretime right now for 4 weeks and I don't use it, then the pricing will go down, because I cannot actually use this kind of Coretime token next year. It is for a specific time frame. If I'm not mistaken, maybe Phil can correct me here, but it actually creates this very dynamic and probably it will be quite surprising, I think, the effects that this will have on the market side and how this Coretime will be sold and traded in the ecosystem. So yeah, that's what I have on top of my mind right now, that I think is very interesting for the future of Coretime sales.
No, awesome. Thank you so much for, taking the time to come up and add your input. We definitely always appreciate it. So I'll move on to the next question now. And I'll push this question towards Yuki from Moonbeam and Luca from Polymech. So as Coretime goes live, project developments within the ecosystem are accelerating. So could you both essentially share what your projects are focusing on and maybe some exciting opportunities for users? We can start this off with Luca, if you want to kick it off.
Sure, happy to start. So at Polymech, we focus strongly on the business side of the Polkadot ecosystem. Now, similar to the Coretime sales, we actually have a possibility of lowering the startup barriers for early stage startups and also startups that already have seed rounds behind them, to prepare them for the token launches and smoothly transition to the secondary market. Now, to break that down very simply, we have 2 core areas that we're focusing on. The first one is, which is why I compare it to the Coretime, is basically we save them investment or we save them cash initially. Now, how can we do that? It can be done with simplifying them, helping them the guide, be it on the incorporation side, being on lowering, helping with the expertise, which markets can you tackle, what are the regulatory requirements, how can you prepare to pitch to other investors, what are the things, how you have to be structured, and most importantly, as of today, every time you conduct a fundraise, you either have to associate yourself reputationally, which the larger your problem is, the larger the problem becomes, with a counterparty that's facilitating the sale with you. And in Web3, one of the most important aspects is that you need the community from very early on. So token distribution is something that is sometimes forgotten. And I think also in that regard, airdrops is a very interesting topic in the Polkadot ecosystem that we should probably take up a little bit more as a whole, because for a token distribution base can be an interesting area to have a look at. Now on Polymac, we have issued the road to launch. So after 2 years of development, we're approaching now very, very closely of going live. What that means is our TGE is just around the corner, and then we will roll out one functionality after the other, so that at the beginning of the next year, already the full functional chain will be live and running decentralized on Polkadot. So far, moving quite nicely. For all the users, what that means is that surely in the first quarter of next year, to say it very conservatively, we will hopefully happening the first decentralized fundraise happening on Polkadot in full regulatory compliance. Now, what that means is a private sale that can be conducted today with global accessibility. And that one is not only a first in Web3, that is actually a first globally, that you can enable global accessibility for users without sharing any personal information and conducting a private sale on a decentralized protocol. So that application with the first fundraise will already occur very, very soonish. So stay tuned on the next steps.
Awesome. That's really exciting, Luca. And like everyone here, be sure to, follow each and every one of our guests. Every single one of them in their description, in their X profile, has the projects that they're working on. So you can take yourself down that crypto journey and really dive in more what, all these people are talking about. There's some great builders here working on some great stuff. And like the only way you can take your knowledge base to the next level is really get involved in the conversation. So I highly recommend that to everyone. So next, I'll pass this question on over to Yuki from Moonbeam. So do you want to touch base here and let everyone know, the exciting opportunities that come along with this on the Moonbeam network?
Yeah, thanks. So, cause like the Moonbeam Foundation already recognized like it's a very fast-paced environment for the whole ecosystem, and for the Web3 industry. So that's why like next year the Moonbeam Foundation will strategically focus on 3 areas. So these are like the purpose is to like wider the massive adoption for the users in order to lower the entry barrier, no matter for developers or the regular users coming to the Polkadot ecosystem. So, for example, the cross-chain connectivities, gaming, and real-world assets, and some of the emerging markets, we might have more opportunity to explore. So first of all, like definitely cross-chain. That's the most like the top prioritized area that the Moonbeam Foundation want to focus. Currently, like on Moonbeam, we have a connected contract solution, so which can allows use messages and cross-chain chains to enhance interoperability within Polkadot through XCM, the cross-chain consensus messaging, and beyond on Polkadot, we can also provide like other top chains such as Ethereum, Cosmos, Avalanche, or Arbitrum through the cross-chain messaging systems like Layer 0, Axler, or Wormhole. And besides, we can offer like MRL, these cross-chain messaging solutions to allows the infrictionless assets movement between Moonbeam and external ecosystem. So all of the expected purpose is to achieve like more and more assets, like different types of the startup assets, can be imported into the whole Polkadot ecosystem and distributed within the parachain. So I would say like for the one part can improve the liquidity. On the other side, we can also like having more opportunity to leverage the existing assets, sorry, not assets, the tokens within the Polkadot to have more like DeFi or financial use cases and scenarios. So this is like the top prioritized for the Moonbeam ecosystem. And others, like I would say, these are like more for innovative markets that Moonbeam Foundation are interesting to explore. So as we can see recently, like gaming and the real world assets are gradually like coming to the public eyes, and we are also like actively like supporting projects who have the potential to deploy on Polkadot, expand their business related to game and RWA, come to Moonbeam ecosystem. And the final part would be emerging regions. So this is kind of like an enhancing solution for emerging economics for how to like follow up the faster growing crypto economics globally. So that's why recently you can find on the Moonbeam official Twitter post, we have posted some of the collaboration with Brazil in the Brazil market for allowing like minting NFT for getting a specific NFT certificate and as a proof for a like course experience and even to for learning like much more knowledges by using some on-chain experience. So that's why like on Moonbeam, I would say we're still like keep building and working on more like toolings, framework, and documentations in order to lead the whole Web3 adoptions uh, with the support of Polkadot ecosystem.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yuki. And like I myself, I've been, following and working within the Moonbeam ecosystem for quite a long time. So, I'm super excited to see, your guys' journey and where things come forth in the new year. I think there's a lot of exciting opportunity and you just hit the mark on a lot of it. So like, again, everyone be sure to check that out. So we'll move on to the next question now. And this one will be directed towards Alice and Bob. So with Mangata, it's exploring the impact of order flow auctions in DeFi. As a DEX, how will Coretime's launch affect your project? And also, will it impact trading stability and security? The last point would be is how about the economic model when it comes to this? So you want to touch base on this question and just break it down for our audience? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I think for any DeFi project where it's about finance and about transactions, capital efficiency is one of the most important factors. So how much are you paying and how much are you getting for your transaction? And usually what you want to do is to pay the least amount to get the most out of it, right? And so capital efficiency in terms of blockchain usually means how much are you paying for your swap? For example, how much are you paying in gas and in MEV? And everyone here knows the discussion about how much you pay in gas on Ethereum. Everyone is always happy when other blockchain ecosystems have cheaper gas. And I think Polkadot is even going further in terms of optimizing this. So having the ability to add multiple cores is one thing, and the other thing that is also going along with that project of Polkadot 2.0 is having elastic scaling, which means you can use a bit of a core, you can use 1/10 for half of a core, or you could use one full core and a half core. And so what it allows you to do is that as a user of the system, in the future, you will not have to pay extra just for the blockchain producing empty blocks, which is still happening today. So as elastic scaling marches on and becomes a reality, blockchains will be able to optimize for the exact amount of usage that is on the system. And getting security from Polkadot is basically a supplier. It's a supplier of security and a supplier of secure block space. So DeFi projects especially want to have, first of all, the cheapest possible blocks with high security. And second of all, they also need reliability. You cannot have a DeFi, you cannot have an exchange or any other DeFi protocol just stopping or suddenly having huge gas costs just because there is an NFT mint happening in the same ecosystem. So you see this happening in Ethereum when an NFT mint is happening of some very popular NFT for half a day, the gas prices are insane. And so this is not something that you want on an exchange where you actually want to offer reliability to the users. So having reliability in the amount of blocks you can produce and not have sudden surges. It's very important. And having to only pay for the amount of blocks that you're actually consuming. And so in this regard, I'm not aware of any other blockchain ecosystems besides Polkadot that is marching in that direction of offering that amount of flexibility to block space consumers. And so I think any DeFi project can just be excited about this.
Awesome, thanks. And I agree with you. You hit on a few definitely key points when it comes to, especially the efficiency side and just how everything can just be optimally utilized by the teams. So I'll move on to the next question. And this question is for the whole panel. So Coretime's launch is set to lower the barriers for developers. So with increasing market options, what do you think is Polkadot's biggest draw for developers? And what are the key advantages? So I'll kick it off with Phil if you want to start off on this question.
I mean, this is a huge surface area of a question, but like it's starting with what continuing with what Alice and Bob was just talking about. This ability to, for instance, to have elastic scaling. I mean, the name Elastic is based on this idea. It's a very unique property where a team can start small and just get a block at a time whenever it's needed. If they have 10 users, then they can build out and get the infrastructure and security and interoperability that they need at any given time, whether or not they have 10 users or 10 million. And I think that that is one of the huge difference makers of Polkadot going forward. The ability to not only reduce your costs of like, should we pay validators for this much or that much, but also if your chain has a token or if your application has a token, the ability to scale that inflation according to its use is something that is beyond just the infrastructure. So let's only create a block every 10 minutes also slows down the rate of inflation and makes it more appropriate so that these decisions you have to make, many other teams have to make years down the road. Should we slow down our inflation or do this or do that? Well, this can just happen automatically with the rate at which you're producing blocks. And that's something like it's a totally new paradigm here for teams looking to build on an infrastructure that's really thinking not just about next year, but about like 10 years in the future. And that's something that Coretime is really going to provide is the ability for teams to not have to worry about and predetermine their infrastructure costs ahead of time, but just sort of build with the usage of their application. If they have a huge spike in activity, they can easily get the infrastructure to keep fees down for their users and keep things going. And then let's say this spike of activity dies off and they have a more stable activity the day after, great. They can slow down and pull back on that infrastructure cost just as easily as they're getting it. I think that's a huge difference maker for Polkadot.
No, absolutely. Stability, reliability, and scalability are definitely key factors when it comes to everything, especially when projects are really trying to build and push the limits or just want to offer, again, that reliable product. So we'll pass the question on over to Luca from Polymac. Do you want to hit on everything here?
I don't think I want to reiterate all the points said, but on the strength of the Polkadot ecosystem, I think most of us are aware that it's definitely the leading one on the tech front. And I can just talk from the Polymac perspective, how we're approaching it and doubling down on capital efficiency for every protocol. I think the crucial part is what we hear with the Coretime coming with Polkadot 2.0. For the first time, it opens up the entry for a new cohort of startups that were not assessing Polkadot before. So that's quite an interesting development that we see on the business demand side of applications. Now, the tech is already there where we're basically ready for big enterprise adoption, millions of transactions within a couple of blocks. And it's great to have this underlying infrastructure, but we also need to work on the path to enable the road for them to get there. And I think the Polkadot 2.0 with the Coretime is the best step that has been taken in a very long while. So I'm very, very excited how this turns out. and also quite confident, as Phil mentioned, that it's just a matter of time until there is a way figured out for brokers to find agreements to give them stability as well. Crucial part to highlight on that front where it could go as well is the UI side of things. So very simply put, the only thing that we're focusing, because we should never forget that the biggest downside of crypto is it's complicated. We're all aware how to use a wallet, but most of the people unluckily still aren't. So we should never forget the simple things of, I need to have an application that is as simple to use as possible, and I need to use as few clicks as possible. Always love the comparison to why the iPhone was such a breakthrough of it simply didn't have any instructions. There was no instruction paper in it. And for me, this is how any DeFi application should be, that if I use the application intuitively, the first time I open it up, I should know where I have to click what and which actions it triggers, because this is the only way how we can get user adoption and real products also being used, given, of course, that they're serving the right business area where there's also a market demand to be used for, of course.
Oh, 100%. Definitely simplifying the process and making it almost like drinking a glass of water, and just natural reaction is definitely what the direction that's needed to go. And definitely a lot of the opportunity there. Does anybody else on the panel want to touch base on this question? I know I don't want to repeat too many things over and over, but maybe Yuki from Moonbeam, if you have any direct correlation towards Moonbeam directly in regards to this question. Maybe I know you touched on some stuff, but if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I think that's my opinion will be like pretty similar for Philip and others like guests here. So when we firstly heard about Coretime, we just so I would say like this is definitely like good news for the whole Polkadot ecosystem. But the problem is for me like I still need to educate the community, especially for the individuals, how they can leverage and what they can enjoy the benefits for because of the launch of Coretime. So for that part, I would say, besides the develop, it's like will be easier for the developers be more flexible to utilize the block base and to structure their own business, structure their business on Polkadot. So how to engage the users coming to Polkadot on like on top of the Coretime structure would be like much more attractive for the community. So I would like keep following up on this, but for currently I don't have more opinions.
No worries, it's appreciated. I guess Alice and Bob, do you have anything else to add, or Filippo? If not, we can just go to the next question.
Not really.
Perfect. All right, cool. So to move on to the last question. So finally, could all of our guests, essentially, this is for everyone, maybe want to give some advice to developers and how to seize opportunities on Polkadot and get involved, maybe the avenues they take or the avenues they recommend. We know that, like, obviously with a developer's journey into an ecosystem, there can sometimes be those barriers which can turn you away. So we'd love to hear from each of you individually, obviously, what you would recommend, the pathways you took, or just what you would recommend them also getting involved with within the ecosystem. So I'd love to kick this one off with Alice and Bob, if you want to just talk a bit about what your perspective would be for all those builders out there.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so assuming you build a developer joining the ecosystem and are interested, usually I make a difference between two types of builders, so chain builders and app builders. But let's assume you want to build an app. My suggestion is to be lazy first and foremost, because it's always easy to get trapped in complex solutions, and especially in Web3 and crypto, there's an abundance of complex solutions. But try to be lazy at first and look at what easy solutions are out there. Right now, what I can suggest to look into is, for example, Apilon. They are building an SDK framework of simplified APIs. So they try to give you everything out of the box in a single framework. And they give you storage, they give you NFTs, I believe they give you compute. So quite a few things that you could already use, identity. And basically try to look into what kind of application you can build out of those existing services and SDKs. And yeah, then there are quite a few projects out there offering SDKs, and do something practical. Don't get too theoretical or caught up in some high complex theory. But I think what our ecosystem right now could really very much use is very practical, simple apps that prove a very simple point.
No, awesome. I agree. I personally would love to see a lot more DeFi going on within Polkadot. So if there's builders out there that have some cool stuff for people to get involved with, send them your way. We want to see this stuff over here and really get some excitement going on within the community. So I'll pass it over next to Yuki. Maybe you want to touch base necessarily how to get involved with Polkadot. Maybe a touch base a bit more on Moonbeam as well, and how developers can get involved in the opportunities at hand to get in.
Yeah, I would say like for Polkadot, the good one is like we have very decentralized culture, but that's kind of like for a little bit confused for the especially for the application developers what they can construct or what they can build on Polkadot. And so for now, like also like when we ask about the impression like the community have what they have like for the Polkadot ecosystem, so the first impression is always like it's a little difficult for them to learn about use the wallet and how to transfer their existing tokens from other chains or from centralized exchange within the Polkadot. And the next step is any like use cases, the applications, or the scenarios they can leverage the dot tokens or the stable coins within the Polkadot ecosystem in order to improve the liquidity. So that's why I would say like the opportunity, first of all, definitely to build more and more like user friendly experience application and toolkit. So for that part, like Coretime definitely it's a good chance for them because it's very more flexible for the developers to build up their first initial business on Polkadot without like consider about the high cost for like have to participate a slot auction, but they can just start immediately. So that's good for the developers. And the other side, and secondly, it would be besides the user friendly like application. Second part would be like more ecosystem support. We need to do like more marketing and promotion to let our developers know. So that's why I would say maybe the next opportunities will be for the educational community and the marketing that can be an opportunity. So here, like we have seen the decentralized future, that's the Polkadot ecosystem opens for external vendors and the community in order to build up together. So this can like it's a very exclusive culture, and I would say I'm very welcome and excited about these cultures for on the Polkadot. So that can be another like opportunities. And the third one is still like how we can connect it with the external ecosystem, not just within the Polkadot side. So currently we have seen we can't avoid the future for the cross chain, and the liquidity will be like transferred everywhere around within this industry. So any like method or solutions we can easily to achieve like connecting the token transfer or the message transfer across different chains would be like the future opportunity as well. So that's my own understanding. Thanks for it.
No, awesome. Thank you so much. I'll pass the question over to Luca. Obviously, you guys are doing some pretty great stuff at Polymech, but overall, just besides getting involved with Polkadot, maybe you can, touch base on how what you guys can do on top of it for getting users involved with the Polkadot ecosystem, maybe if it may be in the phase of funding or taking it to the next level.
Happy to share some insights of what we will go live with in the upcoming weeks. So on our side, it will be a two-staged process. So first of all, we will start on the staking front, and then very soonish we will open up for all the functionalities, which of course means first of all the governance palette. Then we will extend to enable the needed pallets for the first decentralized fundraise, which means that to enable a protocol to conduct a fundraise, which has to be distinct to a launchpad, because launchpad are one-off offerings where I raise funds, the launchpad distributes the token, people are participating in these tokens, and on the other side, I have a lot of human personnel that needs to be paid for an hourly salary, which understandably, the token income of the facilitator or the launchpad has to be dumped to cover these salaries. Now, to have a long-term stakeholder alignment in a decentralized protocol, all three need to have the right incentives. We're talking about the investors, the projects, and the protocol. So the way how we structured it is that the token income is distributed to the ones that are the so-called gatekeepers or the curators of the projects. There, in most of the tokenomics that we designed, we mimic strongly how it works in the traditional financial markets, that investors are signaling investment interest, which is what we call an evaluation. So projects proceed to a decentralized fundraise only if there's enough interest from investors to invest in such a project. If they signal that, they get an investment discount, which is a part of the fee the project pays to these investors. How we support the projects in a longer time than a one-off offering is that we help them to move from the fundraise to the secondary market by also providing initial secondary market liquidity in a decentralized trading pair by becoming a liquidity provider. To sum that up on what our focus is twofolded, as I already mentioned. The crucial part of how we built the entire application is questioning every little button. Is it needed? What is the minimum amount of information that we can put on there? And how can we enable the minimum amount of clicks for end users to get to their actions? And this is a process that is reiterated on a weekly basis on everything and will continue to do so. On the other part of how the business elements are covered is how can we save the biggest amount of costs for startup in a streamlined process. And so far, we're roughly in the base of 100 to 250K Swiss francs, looking at some of the startups that we can support, that we already saved them in legal costs, incorporation costs, regulatory guidance, structurings of sales, being prepared for what can you do after you have the token launch. And the similarity that I see between how we enable the token to be handed out compared to the Coretime is every project that raises over Polymac that does not yet have a mainnet token receives what we call a contribution token, which is a placeholder token or similar to a tokenized soft. Once the mainnet token is issued, these tokens in the participants' wallets are migrated to the mainnet tokens. Now, that's a very crucial aspect that every project, or most of us in this chat, I would assume we have a lot of pre-investors in Polkadot as well, and everyone who bears with me how tedious it was, and no offense to the Web3 people in here, how tedious it was with the claiming process of getting the dots and being insecure. Is it early enough? Can I claim my dots? A lot of projects have this as a one-off cost in development of ensuring the token distribution, where the reality is they're comparing soft agreements in an Excel sheet, preparing everything, putting it in, and enabling a claiming process. And that has to be an infrastructure piece in our point of view, and can also be strongly streamlined for all the projects.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Luca. And just being conscious of everyone's time. I know we're just passing over the hour mark here now. So I'll let any of the other guests, if they have any other final comments on this question before we move on to closing statements, if you want to touch in, you can open your mic now. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we'll move. Go ahead, Filippo. Sorry.
Sorry. No, regarding this last question, coming myself from a business kind of world, I have my own startup, and I learned on my own, cost to keep it simple at the start, and try to use the tools and stuff that people already produced and developed before like reinventing the wheel. And the fact that now Polkadot has already like 50 projects, 50 parachain on it, and they are really amazing products, and we can already see parachain using other parachain product. For example, we have seen like Polymac and Killed, and now also like we have two big players like Deloitte using these products. I would suggest to future developers in the ecosystem to start looking around what already exists in order to leverage each other kind of value proposition. And I think this is also one of the main goals of a multi-chain project, and the fact that you can communicate very securely on the Polkadot ecosystem between different parachain. It allows really like to build your own value proposition, but leveraging wherever possible other products instead of like reinventing your stuff. And you also have like Tansy, where you can like basically spin up your parachain using already like their kind of infrastructure that they provide, and you don't have to have like all this knowledge about setting up your own collators and attracting some people that do this for you in the ecosystem. I think all this stuff that they're starting to pop up really like make the ecosystem quite attractive for developers.
No, 100%. I agree. And like one thing I can say is like one of the things we're doing at Sick on the Block specifically, especially with the Sick Collective, is we're trying to connect teams, builders, as well as marketers, key individuals in the space. So if there's builders out there, looking to get involved with the Polkadot ecosystem, as much as we're not just focused on Polkadot, our true goal is to connect people across all blockchains. Polkadot is really at the heart and soul of what we're working on, and we'd be happy to connect you with teams and get you involved in the ecosystem. Highlight like we have a lot of opportunities with spaces and just like other just collaborations. So we really want to get teams working together and get people involved. So feel free to reach out to us if you want to get in contact with whether any of these panelists. You can also contact Poker World in regards to this. But again, get involved is the main step, and the starting point and gateway is definitely some of the key opinion leaders in the Polkadot ecosystem that are stepping up into the conversations to make these things happen. We'll move into closing statements now. And I guess we'll get each of our guests the opportunity to just, if they have any closing statements about the projects they're building and any last touch points, and also how would they get in contact with each of you and your project. So I'll start it off with Phil, if you want to kick it off there on this question.
Yeah, so you can get in touch with us by, just reaching out to me on Twitter or following lastic_XYZ. So th this whole discussion has been really good, so thank you. We have a lot in store for Polkadot 2.0, and we definitely really see a whole new wave of actors coming in and participating and being brokers for Coretime on Polkadot. Just like one final thought about Coretime, we talked a lot about it here today. I think Alice and Bob mentioned it as well. There's definitely a huge amount of block space in that Polkadot provides and secures. And there's definitely going to be a huge supply and an interesting way of trying to like people have been asking like where's the demand going to be? Well, we've already seen 50 parachains and so on, but this will continue to grow. So Polkadot secures tons of block space, and cores, on the other hand, that provide that block space will be scarce. So relative to the amount of block space each of them produce, it's something to keep in mind when looking into or thinking about core time and block space on Polkadot. There's a lot out there, but the access to it will be relatively scarce and limited, and we're looking forward to see how secondary market handles this variation in liquidity and supply and demand. So thanks for hosting, and follow Elastic on Twitter, and go to elastic.xyz for more info.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Phil. And everyone, be sure to also give Phil a follow too, because he's given out that information in regards to what he's working on as well. So Yuki, would you like to any closing statements or just let people know how they can get involved with Moonbeam?
Thanks for joining this Twitter space again. So actually, like for Moonbeam, just to keep saying, like for our next years, because there will be like more um easy involved like on-chain campaigns, like on-chain interactions, and more like potential projects will be launched on Moonbeam soon. I suppose like our users, no matter like your dot holders or Gleamer holders, will be definitely interested on it. And besides, we are keep working on the how to solve the issues, like easily transfer the token assets within Polkadot and allowed like more mainstream tokens outside Polkadot coming to within the ecosystem. So just to keep an eye on it. So we will release more good news on the Moonbeam official website, and please follow on our Moonbeam official Twitter as well. So we'll be like more good updates. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming out today, Yuki. And we'll pass it over to Luca from Polymech now. Do you have any closing statements? And how would people get in contact with you the best?
Sure. First of all, also from my side, it was very, very interesting to hear your insights. Thank you very much, all. And feel free to reach out and follow the updates that are coming. Next couple of weeks, you will see a couple of milestones on us that we've prepared over the last 2 years. So follow the Polymech protocol on Twitter, and also feel free to reach out to me anytime over Twitter. Now, as a short closing remark, I just saw that Xinti made a comment underneath the space, so I would actually like to use the opportunity to quickly answer it, and feel free to reach out directly as well if the question is not completely answered. And he raised the right point that I didn't mention today because thought time is a little bit tight, which is the KYC element and how our Web 2 and Web 3 users can we bridge together on the platform to have the right regulatory compliance in the fundraisers, and also the most important aspect, how can we bring the users to projects that are raising over Polymech? Both of these things are a very crucial aspect of what we do. The first part is the partnership that we went live with Deloitte, where we were working on it for more than 18 months. And what we enabled is the functionality of having a decentralized identity that can be verified over the Kilt blockchain, that through Polkadot's interoperability, we can verify certain things of a DID without the end user showing any personal information publicly on the blockchain. So this is a global first on decentralized network to apply to the banking grade standards and enable institutional investors to clear their check marks of what they need to approve from an investment perspective. The second part, the community point, very important aspect. On that part, we have 2 features on the Polymech protocol. And MVP, we will go live, of course, with the private data room where investors can find all the needed information of the projects if they're eligible to participate. And the second part is, of course, the interaction with the project, which we call written evaluations. That one is one of the biggest upsides we see, because everyone that invests in crypto tends to ask a friend, tends to ask someone that has an expertise in another field. So very similar of the power function of Polkadot with OpenGov, we enable written evaluation users to write the pro, the cons, constructive feedbacks, the risks, the pros of a project. So the project can also see where is the demand from the community, how can we tackle them, how can we connect, and we can build up the community from the moment of the launch going forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, everyone, be sure to reach out to Luca if you guys are looking to, raise or take your projects to the next step, especially within the Polkadot ecosystem. So last but not least, Filippo, I know you came in late, so I'm going to ask you actually to introduce yourself, a bit of who you are and what you're doing, so some of the audience that may not know who you are have an idea of who they can follow and what kind of value you can provide, because I know you're definitely writing a lot of great information on X every week. So if you just want to give a introduction and then your outro in the same one, because again, we don't want to cast the light and not knowing who you are.
Oh, thank you. I'm a technical educator at the Web3 Foundation, and I would say like a lot of time I spent on organizing the wiki and reorganizing the content, make sure that it is easy to navigate and add new stuff and new features. So definitely, if you have questions, you can reach out to me. You can file an issue. The wiki is open source. And please, go to the Polkadot wiki if you want to know about Polkadot. There are new pages about the tools that you can use to interact with Polkadot, but also more in-depth and advanced topic like, I don't know, a parachain protocol and how Polkadot secures all the parachain, which is quite interesting. And we try to make the pages a little bit approachable for enthusiasts. So the content should be pretty much like not easy, but the advanced content can be approachable, maybe a little bit of an advanced read, but we try our best. So, but please reach out to me if you have questions or you find errors or anything related to the wiki. I really appreciate the feedback from the community. So anything related to the documentation really help to make the life easier for the next user that interact with this documentation for Polkadot.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for hopping in the panel there last minute and joining the conversation. We always truly appreciate it. And again, thank you to all the panelists for coming out today. Again, be sure to give them all a follow. One last person who had to drop off early, I'll just give a shout out to Alice and Bob from Mangata. He had to step out due to timing reasons, but also be sure to, he's tagged in the original post. So just be sure to, go give him a follow and give Mangata a follow as well as following Sick on the Block in Polka World. So I'll pass it over to Kristen now for some closing statements. But just again, from the Sick team, I just want to say thank you again to all our panelists and thank you to our guests. We definitely appreciate all your time and we're super excited to be involved in these types of conversations.
Yeah, as we wrap up today's panel, I'd love to extend my heartfelt thank you to all of our panelists for their insightful contributions and to our audience for their active engagement. We look forward to continuing these important conversations and exploring new opportunities together in the Web3 space. Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again in the future in our future event. Wishing everyone a wonderful day. Thank you.